The bullets ripped through the air like angry hornets. And Blake knew this was it, the moment that could end it all. He was crouched behind a rusted shipping container in the heart of the Los Angeles port, his SWAT gear heavy with sweat and the scent of gunpowder. His team was scattered, but his eyes were locked on Zachary, his partner, pinned down by a barrage from the cartel gunmen. "Cover me," Blake shouted into his comms. And without waiting for a reply, he sprinted across the open ground, his M4 carbine barking in response. Zachary's face was a mask of determination and fear as he returned fire from behind a forklift. Blake reached him just as a bullet grazed his shoulder, sending a hot streak of pain through his arm. He tackled Zachary to the ground, shielding him with his body as the rest of the team closed in with flashbangs and precise shots. "You okay?" Blake gasped, their faces inches apart in the dirt and chaos, the world narrowing to just the two of them amid the gunfire. "Yeah, thanks to you," Zachary replied, his voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through his veins. At 28, Zachary was the new kid on the block in the LAPD's Elite Special Operations Bureau, transferred in from the FBI's hostage rescue team just 6 months ago. He'd proven himself in drills and smaller ops, but this was his first major raid. Blake, at 35, was the veteran, the one everyone looked up to as the unspoken leader of the task force. Tall and broad-shouldered with a jaw that could cut glass, Blake had a reputation for being unflappable under fire. But no one knew his secret, the one that had eaten at him for over a decade. The raid wrapped up in a blur of sirens and arrests. The Sinaloa cartel lieutenant was in cuffs, a massive shipment of fentanyl seized, and the team emerged battered but victorious. Back at the precinct in downtown LA, as medics patched up the minor wounds, Blake sat on the bumper of the SWAT van, staring at the blood on his gloves. The near miss with Zachary had cracked something open inside him. Years of hiding, of late-night drives alone after shifts, of forcing smiles at team barbecues while his heart ached for something real, it all came crashing down. That night, after the debrief where Captain Elena Vargas praised their textbook execution, Blake found Zachary in the locker room. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Zachary stripped off his tactical vest, his dark hair matted with sweat. Blake's heart hammered harder than it had during the shootout. "I need to talk to you," Blake said, his voice low. "Alone?" Zachary turned, wiping his face with a towel. "Shoot. What's eating you?" "Man, you were a beast out there." Blake stepped closer, the air thick with the smell of gun oil and exhaustion. "I'm gay, Zach. Have been my whole life. And these past months, working with you, I've been falling for you. Hard." Zachary froze, his brown eyes searching Blake's face. For a second, Blake braced for rejection, for the awkward silence that had defined his past attempts at honesty. But then Zachary's shoulders relaxed, and a small, genuine smile broke through. "Blake, damn, I didn't see that coming. But, yeah, me too. I've been crushing on you since day one. Thought you were straight as an arrow." Their hands brushed as Zachary reached for his locker, and in that touch, Blake felt the first real spark of hope in years. They talked for hours that night, sitting on the cold benches, sharing stories Blake had buried deep. Zachary grew up in a conservative Mexican-American family in East LA, hiding his own truth through sports and the military. Blake came from a blue-collar background in the San Fernando Valley, where real men didn't cry, let alone love other men. By dawn, as the first light filtered through the precinct windows, Blake made his decision. "I'm coming out to the team. Tomorrow. I can't hide anymore. Not after today." Zachary nodded, his hand lingering on Blake's arm. "I'll be right there with you." The next morning, the squad room buzzed with the usual post-raid energy, guys swapping war stories over coffee, Captain Vargas reviewing body cam footage on the big screen. Blake stood at the front, his arm in a sling from the graze, heart pounding like it was another op. "Listen up, everyone," he said, his voice cutting through the chatter. "I need to say something. I'm gay. Been living a lie for too long. This job, it almost took me yesterday, and I realized life's too short." The room went dead silent. A few jaws dropped. Sergeant Mike Harlan, a grizzled vet who'd been with Blake for years, shifted uncomfortably. "Blake, you serious?" "Dead serious," Blake replied. "And if anyone's got a problem, say it now." Captain Vargas stepped forward, her dark eyes steady. "Blake's one of the best we've got. His personal life doesn't change that. This department stands for integrity, and that includes being true to who you are. I'm proud of you, son." The meeting broke with a mix of handshakes and awkward nods. But as Blake walked out with Zachary, he knew the real storm was coming. The days after the announcement blurred into a haze of paperwork and wary glances. Blake threw himself into training, pushing through the pain in his shoulder to prove he was still the same operator. But the team dynamics had shifted. In the gym, during sparring sessions, some guys avoided pairing up with him. Whispers followed him in the hallways. "Did you know?" Explains why he never hit on the rookies. It stung, but Blake kept his head high. Zachary became his anchor. They'd steal moments in the break room, sharing quiet lunches where Zachary's easy laugh cut through the tension. "They're just processing," Zachary said one afternoon, as they sat on the rooftop overlooking the 101 freeway. The hum of traffic below, a constant reminder of the city's pulse. Give it time. But time wasn't on their side. The next big call came in, a hostage situation at a high-end hotel in Beverly Hills, tied to the same cartel remnants. The team geared up in the ready room, the air thick with anticipation. Blake checked his rifle, feeling Zachary's eyes on him from across the benches. "Stick close," Blake muttered as they loaded into the Bearcat armored vehicle. The op went south fast. The suspects had rigged the penthouse with explosives, and as the team breached, gunfire erupted. Blake and Zachary were on point, clearing rooms with practiced efficiency. But when a flashbang disoriented them, Blake took a round to his vest, non-penetrating, but it knocked the wind out of him. Zachary dragged him to cover, his face etched with worry. "Stay with me, Blake." They made it out. The hostage is safe, but the close call amplified the undercurrents. Back at base, Sergeant Harlan pulled Blake aside. "Look, I respect you, man. But the guys, some are saying it affects the trust. In the field, you know." Blake's blood boiled. "Trust? I just took a bullet for the team." Again, Harlan sighed. "It's not me. But word's spreading. Media's sniffing around the raid. Your name's out there." That evening, Blake's phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "Emily, Mom saw the news leak. Call her." His stomach dropped. He'd come out to the department, but family was a minefield. Their father, a retired firefighter, had drilled man up into him since he was a kid. Blake dialed anyway, pacing his small apartment in Silver Lake. "Blake, what the hell is this?" His mom's voice cracked over the line. "Gay? After all we've done for you. It's who I am." "Mom," he said, voice steady but heart aching. "I almost died out there. I can't pretend anymore." She hung up, and the silence that followed was deafening. Zachary showed up unannounced, a six-pack in hand. They sat on Blake's balcony, the Hollywood sign twinkling in the distance. "Family's complicated," Zachary said, cracking open a beer. "Mine flipped when I told them last year. But they came around. Yours will too." As they talked into the night, Blake felt the walls crumbling. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future, not just surviving shifts, but living. But the department's old guard wasn't done. The next morning, an anonymous complaint hit HR. Concerns about unit cohesion post coming out. Captain Vargas called Blake in. "I've got your back. But this is escalating. The chief wants a statement." "Public." Blake nodded, the weight settling. "Let's do it." The press conference was set for Friday at LAPD headquarters, a sleek glass building in the Civic Center. Blake stood in front of the mirror in his dress uniform, adjusting the tie that felt like a noose. Zachary waited outside, dressed sharp, his support a quiet force. "You got this," he said, squeezing Blake's hand briefly in the hallway. The room was packed, reporters from the LA Times, local TV, even a national cable crew. Captain Vargas took the podium first. "Today, we're here to address recent events involving one of our finest. Detective Blake Harlan has demonstrated extraordinary courage, both in the field and in his personal life." Blake stepped up, microphone in hand, the cameras flashing like muzzle fire. I've served this city for 12 years. Saved lives. Lost friends. But I hid who I am to fit in. After the port raid, I realized hiding was killing me slower than any bullet. I'm gay. Proudly. And if that makes some uncomfortable, that's on them. My job is to protect and serve everyone. The questions came like a barrage. Does this affect your effectiveness? How does your team feel? Blake answered each with calm precision. Zachary's presence in the front row steadying him. But the backlash hit harder than expected. Online forums lit up with anonymous posts from concerned officers. At the station, locker room talk turned ugly. One rookie, fresh from the academy, muttered to a buddy, "Doesn't belong in SWAT." Too much drama. Blake overheard it during a shift change and confronted him. "Say it to my face." The kid backed down, but the seed was planted. That night, Blake and Zachary grabbed takeout from a taco truck in Koreatown, eating on the hood of Blake's truck under the neon glow. "It's getting to me," Blake admitted, staring at the city lights. "I thought coming out would free me. Now it feels like a target." Zachary set his food down, turning to face him. "You're not alone. Remember why you did this." For us. Their eyes met, and in the quiet parking lot, they shared their first real kiss, tentative at first, then deep, the kind that erased the world's noise. But home was fracturing too. Blake's dad showed up at his door the next day, unannounced. "Your mother won't stop crying. This gay thing, it's not you. Son, it's the job messing with your head." Blake stood firm in the doorway. "Dad, it's always been me. The raids, the losses, they just made me see it." His dad left angry, slamming the truck door. Zachary arrived later, finding Blake on the couch, staring at old family photos. "They'll come around," he said, pulling Blake into a hug. "Or they won't. But you've got me. And the team that's got your back." The real test came midweek. A tip on a gang hideout in South LA led to another op. This time, tensions boiled over. During the briefing, Harlan suggested Blake sit it out for optics. Blake refused. "I'm going." End of story. In the field, as they stacked up on the door, a suspect's wild shot clipped Zachary's leg. Blake dragged him to safety. The team covering. "Hold on," Blake whispered, applying pressure as blood soaked his gloves. At the hospital, waiting for news, Blake paced the sterile halls. Vargas arrived, her face grim. "Internal affairs is sniffing. Some brass think your announcement distracted the team." Blake's fists clenched. "That's bullshit." But as Zachary was wheeled out, groggy but stable, Blake knew the fight was far from over. Their bond was strengthening, but the world was pushing back. Recovery dragged for Zachary, his leg in a brace. But he pushed through physical therapy like it was another raid. Blake visited daily, their evenings filled with takeout and quiet talks about the future. "Once this blows over," Zachary said one night in Blake's apartment, the TV murmuring in the background, "we could get a place together. Up in the hills." Blake smiled, but doubt lingered. The department had gone radio silent on the complaint, but whispers grew. A veteran detective retired early, citing changing culture. Blake felt the isolation creeping in during briefings. The empty seats around him in the mess hall. Captain Vargas called a team meeting. "Listen, the job's hard enough without this crap. Blake's proven himself. Anyone with issues, my door's open. But we're family. Act like it." The words helped, but action spoke louder. During a low-key training day at the range, Harlan approached Blake. "I was wrong to doubt you. Saw the body cam from the hotel. You saved Zach's life. Again. Respect." It was a small win, but Blake clung to it. Meanwhile, the media storm intensified. A viral clip from the press conference racked up millions of views, sparking debates on police reform and LGBTQ inclusion. Supporters flooded social media, but so did the trolls. Blake's family rift deepened. His sister Emily called. "Torn. Dad's stubborn. But Mom's asking about you. Come for dinner Sunday." He agreed, but the meal was tense. His dad barely spoke, pushing food around his plate. "This lifestyle, it's not natural," he finally said. Blake set his fork down. "Dad, loving someone isn't a lifestyle. It's who I am. Zachary's a good man. He saved my life more times than I can count." His mom teared up. "We just want you happy, Blake." "But the world." It's cruel. As he left, Zachary waited in the car. How'd it go? Better than expected, Blake lied. But the drive home was silent, heavy with what-ifs. The breaking point came during a joint op with the FBI. A tip on a major arms deal led to a warehouse stakeout in the valley. Blake and Zachary were paired again, the tension electric. As they moved in under cover of night, a betrayal from an inside source turned the tables. Gunfire erupted, and in the melee, Blake spotted Zachary exposed. He charged forward, taking down the shooter, but a ricochet hit his vest hard. Pain exploded, but he kept going. The team prevailed. Suspects down, but Blake collapsed in the aftermath. Ribs cracked. At the hospital, Vargas was there when he woke. You did good, but IA's pushing for a psych eval. Claims the distraction caused the mess. Blake sat up, wincing. Bull. It was a setup. Zachary, crutches in hand, squeezed his shoulder. We're fighting this. Together. That night, as they lay in Blake's bed, the city lights filtering through the blinds, Zachary whispered, I love you, Blake. No matter what. The words hung in the air, a lifeline in the storm. The IA hearing was a gauntlet. Blake sat in the sterile conference room, facing a panel of suits, recounting every detail of the ops. Zachary testified remotely, his voice strong over the speaker. Blake's the reason I'm alive. His focus never wavered. Vargas stormed in midway, slamming a folder down. This is nonsense. Blake's record is impeccable, and I'm making it public right now. She stepped out, and by evening, the news broke. Captain Elena Vargas held an impromptu presser outside headquarters. Detective Blake Harlan is a hero. His courage in coming out isn't a liability, it's an asset. The LAPD stands with him. Fully. No more hiding. No more fear. The statement went viral, shifting the narrative. Support poured in from City Hall, unions, even rival departments. The team rallied. A barbecue at Vargas's house turning into a celebration. Harlan raised a beer. To Blake. And the real family. Blake and Zachary stood on the sidelines, watching the sunset over the backyard pool. We made it, Blake said, pulling Zachary close. Not yet, Zachary replied. But his smile said otherwise. Weeks later, as Blake returned to full duty, the two took a rare weekend off, driving up the Pacific Coast Highway to a quiet beach in Malibu. They walked the sand barefoot, the waves crashing rhythmically, the sun warm on their skin. Blake stopped, turning to Zachary. Marry me? When the dust settles. Zachary laughed, pulling him into a kiss. Hell yes. Back in the city, life normalized, shifts, laughs. The occasional wary glance now met with confidence. Blake's family started thawing. His mom sent a card. His dad a gruff text. Proud of the cop you are. But the journey wasn't over. Blake knew scars remained. But so did the strength forged in fire. Is true love in law enforcement worth every sacrifice? Or does the badge demand you hide your heart forever? True or false?